Greetings to all 5D chess aficionados. We continue our Play and Analyze series, and in this video we will try to answer one of the most important questions of our chess universe. Is there life after a check to the past? And not just one check, but two. The game we are analyzing today was played in October 2023 on a different app against a random opponent. Recently I added it to our database, and here it's a game from August 23, 2024. I played as white. Let's open the game, go to the beginning, create a daughter game, and here we go. Moving the c-pawn is usually associated with the idea of exchanging your flank pawn for the opponent's central pawn in the fight for the center. At the same time, you must pay attention to the weakened d3 square. Black playing d5 gains space, but their Caesar becomes a bit exposed. However, it's not so easy for white to get to it. White doesn't want to take on d5 right now to not let black bring their Tsarina into the center and activate it. Black doesn't want to mess up their pawn structure and blocks the path of their Tsarina from defending the central knight. This is exactly what white aimed for by moving the bishop to b5. The e-file is open. Now it would be great to place the bishop on it to give a check to the past, but how to do it? White has cut themselves off from defending the c2 square. One might think that the knight on d4 saves the situation, but what if black plays c5 and attacks that knight? If black plays c5, white will be in trouble. The only solution I see is to capture that knight in the past and after the bishop recaptures castle. Then, in the bottom universe black won't have checks, and in the top one the c2 and d3 squares will be covered by pieces from the bottom universe. However, black's advantage in creating active universes is likely to bring them victory. Retreating to d1 is not an option because that would be checkmate to the past on the next move. Retreating to f1 is almost the same. So we go to e2. White decided that black just moved the knight away from the attack and didn't notice the threat of traveling to the past on e4. But what could they have done? Put the rook on g1 and send it to the beginning of the game? Maybe so. Black gives a check to the past. In the top universe white can't capture that knight, so they need to create their own universe and capture that knight from there. The farthest journey to the past that white has is with this bishop. Let's look at this interface element. It shows how many moves are left until the present of the current universe catches up with the present of the zero or original universe. In this case 6 moves remain. And for the universe created by black 3 moves remain. Knowing this, we don't have to constantly jump from one universe to another trying to figure out how many moves we have left. We can simply subtract 3 from this number and know how many moves are left until our x. It might seem that a more reliable defense against the check in the top universe would have been moving the Tsarina to c2 to capture the knight on the next move. But such a defense would have cost white dearly. First, they would have sacrificed the Tsarina. Second, black develops a fierce attack with a colossal material advantage in the bottom universe. White doesn't want to go for that. It's easy to see that white doesn't have many ways to capture black's knight in the top universe. Their obvious chance is to place their knight on d4 or e5 and capture black's knight on e4 through the universe. In this regard, one might consider capturing on c6 with the bishop. Now if white's Tsarina goes to c2 for example, it would be a mistake to play bishop b5 with the threat of giving a check with this bishop on e2, preventing white from capturing the knight in the top universe. Here white has the move Tsarina f5. And black perishes. So we play bishop d7 defending f5. And white suffers significant losses. However, instead of moving the Tsarina to c2, white could have moved it to g4. Now the same threat of moving to f5 and winning appears. And if black's Tsarina goes to d7, white's Tsarina travels to f5 here. Now black must rack their brains to find a saving move out of this universe. But it probably won't be found. After all, black will have a gap between universes that they won't be able to overcome to capture white's Tsarina. Who knows? Maybe black calculated all this and that's why they captured on c6 with the Tsarina instead of the bishop. Now nothing prevents white from preparing to capture the black knight in the top universe. Except for another check to the past. Well, the trick of capturing the checking piece won't work this time. The square where the bishop stands is covered by pawns from above. And on the neighboring boards as well. So vertical and diagonal captures are technically impossible. Capturing the bishop with the rook also won't work because our own rook will be in our way. And capturing horizontally from the newly created universe could be done from the d1 square, but alas, our own Caesar will block that path. Therefore the only way to survive is to win in the past before the created past catches up with the current present. So white again takes their trusty bishop on c1 and sends it as far back into the past as possible. Interestingly, the app shows a check here. At first I thought it was some kind of bug. But let's try to find it. Here it is. So if white forces black to move on this board it would be a check right now. But let's return to our bishop. Black gladly captures it, and white devises a cunning plan with a trap. They seem to threaten to capture on c6 multiple times and deliver checkmate. But this is not a threat, and black will show why. They understood this and defend against the vertical check. However, they didn't even need to waste time on this. After all, it's not a threat either. And it's just a check in the present from which one can simply escape. But let's follow the main line for now. So the Tsarina goes to e7. White begins executing their plan. Black removes the defense from g4, and white could already move the Tsarina to this square. But that will come on the next move. The knight move is just to an active position for the sake of moving. The main thing is the Tsarina to g4. White manages to give a check to the past just one move before their demise in the top universe. They are overjoyed by their escape and inevitable victory. However, you can pause the video and find a continuation for black that will crush all these triumphant hopes of white. Write in the comments if you manage to find it, and we will reveal this solution in the next video. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Black didn't find that continuation. They create a universe that won't help them due to the gap between universes. White only needs to hold out for a couple of moves. Another unexpected check. Here it is. Write in the comments what you think of such checks. Is this an interesting feature that helps you find new continuations during the game or a distraction with non-existent checks? And this is the end. Black has exhausted their stock of active universes, and there's no salvation. Let's now go back a bit and look at this position. We now know that the g4 square plays a key role in white's plans. So maybe it just needs to be protected, for example with the move h4? Or after capturing on c6 there was no need to touch the bishop on d7. In general, it's no easy task to escape checks to the past. However, it's not impossible. I hope you enjoyed this game. Share your thoughts in the comments and present your lines. Thank you for your attention. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it, leave a comment, subscribe, share this video with friends, support the channel, and hit the bell to not miss the next videos. Join our community on Discord, Telegram and Facebook via the links in the description or the QR codes you see on the screen. Add the Dropbox folder to your favorites, where you can always find the full current version of the app, the latest update, and the fresh game database. All the best, and see you next time.